everyone, it's Ashley from Yoga for That. And as you know, we can't please everyone based on your teaching style, the sequencing that you do, the peak poses that you choose, even your music. But if we can create an overall great experience for your students, they're going to keep coming back to you. So today I wanted to chat to you about creating a multi-level class within a sequence that you're comfortable teaching. And offering multi-levels within a single class is a really great way to speak to a variety of students, from brand new students who are just stepping into the studio for the first time to students who have been practicing for years and years and are looking to advance their practice further. Some teachers get overwhelmed by having advanced students in their classes because they don't know how to cue bigger postures, they don't know how to offer bigger peak poses in a safe way while still tailoring to newer students. So today we're going to chat about how to offer a class to beginners as well as still speaking to your more advanced students. So stay tuned to the end of this video, and by the end of the video you will know exactly how to sequence a class for all levels of students in your classes. Step number one for speaking to and teaching a multi-level class is offering modifications. And this is easily done even if you're a teacher who you always cue your sun salutations or serias the same way. Really easy way to offer modifications without even saying that they're modifications. So what I do is I actually teach at least 4 rounds of Sun Salutation A. In the first round, I teach the vinyasa from knees, and then lowering all the way to the belly. The second one, knees or toes all the way to the belly. Third one, knees or toes lowering halfway or all the way down. And then the fourth one, offering them to kind of play within that and see how that feels for them. And with this, they know that if they liked the option of having knees on the floor, they can take all of their serias or their sun sals and vinyasas on the knees rather than taking it from the toes, or even lowering halfway. They can actually lower all the way to the floor. So within even just your opening sun salutation options, teaching those more modified options without even speaking to the fact that they're modifications, but they're just variations on the poses. From there, you can actually begin to offer modifications within your prep poses for your peak pose, speaking to the contraindications of what they might be feeling in poses. So if I'm working towards back bending, and so today I taught a class and we did low lunge, I even spoke to that point as saying if you're noticing any twinging feeling in the low back, to lean slightly forward to take the back bend out of the low lunge, and then for people who are feeling safe in the low back, then to work into that back bend and maybe a little bit deeper. So speaking to what they might be feeling in the pose without saying they should be feeling something or what should be happening, but just speaking to what might be going on in the body so they can really check in and say, actually, no, that's not happening to me. Maybe I can stay here. Maybe I work a little bit more. Or maybe they're thinking, yeah, I actually do feel that, or I felt that before and I thought that was normal. And maybe in their body that's just something they play around with, but it just gives them an opportunity to really play around in their own body and begin to notice the sensations and what those sensations in the body are actually cueing to them to maybe pull out of the pose a little bit, or maybe that they need to stretch that area a little bit more, and then that'll open that space up to them. So as you're working through your prep poses, is really starting to speak to the modifications that your students can take, whether in low lunge maybe, or in high lunge or high crescent lunge, maybe they come into a low lunge. Maybe in Warrior 2 they don't go quite into the depth of the front knee if they're working through a knee injury, or maybe you give them a completely different pose to take if they're working through a more serious injury. So it's really just speaking to different options and variations, and I almost like to stray away from the word of modification and more variation. Because a lot of variations, even if you take side plank and you have your forearm down or your knee down, there's still a lot of work happening in the body, especially for someone who's new to those postures. There's a lot happening, there's a lot of strengthening going on. So when you say modification, some people think that they're not working as hard. In reality, they're working just as hard as everybody else. So even if you start with the languaging of saying variation instead of modification, and then starting to speak to these different options within the practice as if it's is just flowing with the practice. It's not like, well, if you can't do this, then do that. It's just, if this is happening, then try this. And just beginning to allow the students to really delve into their own bodies and their own practice. Speaking to variations, so you'll have students that are taking modified variations. So they're making the poses more accessible to their own body. And I like to use this accessibility as a word as well, of changing the pose to their body rather than making their body fit the pose. Now you're going to have advanced students who, well, they're going to take all of the poses that you offer to them. And I do have many classes where I have a wide range of abilities in my class, and I would rather teach to the newest member in the group and focus on those options, and then allowing my more advanced students to play. So I always say to them, if you have a more advanced practice or a more expressive practice, to play within that expression as much as it feels safe in their body in that moment. So if we're doing knee to chest, knee to elbow, and they want to fly, I don't specifically speak to that option, but if they have it in their practice, I do have quite a few students who will play with that if they're feeling strength in the core, especially if we've done a lot of core workout. So it's really just speaking and giving permission, because there's a few classes I've been to where teachers are a little bit more militant in, this is what I'm teaching and this is exactly how you need to participate in the class, whereas I want to create an environment where they're safe and I'm offering, I'm warming up their bodies in a way to get into a specific pose, but within that warm up, they can play and explore and modify, verify, whatever it is that they need to do. They feel free and safe on their mat and in their space, and they know that they are the ones in charge, they're the ones listening to their bodies, and they're the ones who are making decisions on what they want to do. And I actually have more students that will follow along for more of the class when they know they have the option to modify or to advance their posture. So really just creating an environment that is warm and welcoming and supported. And they know that if something's coming up, they can give you a little wave and you can come over and give them a little bit of help if something's going on in their body. Step number 3 is offering rest, and it's something I speak to right at the beginning of my class before we come into our grounding sequence, is saying that they're welcome to come into child's pose or shavasana whenever they want. And I've been to many classes and I go to specific teachers knowing that they allow me to have a practice like this where I can just listen to my body and do what I need to do. And I've spent most, if not all, of the class in child's pose or in some resting posture. And sometimes we just need that. We need the permission to walk into a room, to sit on our mat and know that we have that permission in that space to rest, to listen to our body, and to receive the energy of the room. And I think it's important that people understand and students understand that the rest is just as important in their practice as the active physical practice. So being in the room with other yogis, breathing with each other, and being in that environment, sharing positive energy within each other, can be done from rest. And so especially if you have someone with an injury or anything, knowing and letting them know that they can participate as much as they want to in the practice, and then join and then rest when they need to, and then rejoin when they're ready. We are where I teach, it's hot yoga, so always making sure that I'm offering to them they can take water when they need it, and even to step out of the room if they need to. I know some other studios don't have that option, or it's not as available as an option, but where I teach it can be quite warm, so we do allow students to step out and cool off. So giving that permission, some people are really good at just listening and they'll just do whatever they need to do, and other people need to be told, need to know what the rules are of the studio. So when you speak to these options of modifying or taking variations, of playing within their postures, within their natural ability, or within their ability within their practice, and resting when they need, it creates a much more inclusive studio. And then if I have students that are coming in that are more advanced, and if I was working with them one-on-one, or if I had, the whole class was at their level, obviously I could speak a little bit more to advanced asana practice, but because I need to tailor to such a wide range of abilities, it's easier for me to tailor the class down to more modified options, and then speak to the more advanced options, because the people that are new are not going to know what I'm even referring to. So playing around within the safety of that as well, and knowing that your new people aren't going to feel they have to try and get into these bigger postures unless they've been guided into it safely. Step number 4, and it's something I offer actually in all of my practices, and you can probably tell either by just this video, or if you've been to any of my classes, that I'm very influenced by a vinyasa flow class, and it's one of my favorites. And even when I teach hatha or deep stretch, I do have a very flowy way of getting between my asanas. And I often do speak to a peak pose, even if I'm running like a yang yin class or a hatha class. I just really like the idea of building up to a specific pose, even if it's like camel or pigeon pose, just that it gives me a little bit more freedom to play around with my sequencing, knowing that I'm getting somewhere specific. But that being said, within all my classes, I really do believe in focusing on breath. And I do cue that in beginning grounding meditation, of allowing the breath to become a guide for the practice. And to me, that just means that staying focused on the connection of the inhale and exhale. You'll notice when you drive and when you're doing, not mindless things, but when you're doing things where you're not really connected with the activity, it's just something you have to do. So walking, driving, grocery shopping. If you actually connect with your breath and notice when you're driving and you're stressed, you kind of like, you're breathing really fast, really rapidly, and there's not a smooth connection of the inhale and the exhale, that it's actually just really trying to catch your breath. So I try to tell my students during class and even during their day-to-day life is to take moments to really connect and focus on the breath. And when you've gone into a pose and you've gone in too far into a pose, the breath becomes more rapid. And allowing people to come out of poses to reconnect with the breath, and then holding that connection of breath and keeping that the focus point, and then maybe playing with finding the edge again. Because we spend so much time of our day just doing things, mindlessly doing things. We're not connected, we're not being mindful. So allowing the practice to reflect what we do outside and off the mat. So I really do like to, no matter what their level, and even for my advanced, well, almost probably especially for my advanced students, is they come into class, they know what to expect, they just do. Sometimes they don't even really listen very well. So just allowing them that time to kind of tone back on their practice, less of the physical, more of the emotional, and the internal physical body rather than the physical outside body, the movement body. And so I think that offering a focus point other than just the physical practice, so whether you want to create a mantra that you focus on, or if you like to do sutra-based classes or lesson-based classes, anything like that, is just offering these other pieces into your classes that aren't just the physical body. So that students can learn on their mat and take what they learn off of the mat. And it might take them, especially brand new students, it's going to take them a little time to connect some of that stuff. But teaching your students rather than just instructing your students is really important, and I think will create an experience for your students that will continue to bring them back to you, and then you can grow with your tribe and you can grow with them, and as they advance, you advance as a teacher and you become more creative. You can try bigger peak poses and do more trainings and really continue to allow them to grow with you, and everyone can grow as students and you can grow as a teacher. So let me know in the comments below if you already speak to and teach multi-level classes and maybe you didn't even know that you were doing it. Or let me know in the comments below what your favorite way to offer a variation to a pose or a prep pose or a peak pose that you'd like to share with the rest of us. As always, if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more content like it, and make sure to check out the description below to find out more information about our online mentoring program. There's just a few days left to get in, $99 for an unlimited lifetime membership, and then prices are going up, so make sure you check in with that down below, and we will see you again next week. Thanks so much, guys. See you later. Bye.